What's happening, everybody? I'm Tommy C, and this is In the Crease with Tommy C. And today we're going to be talking about Ryan Callahan's big return to Madison Square Garden. I hope you stick around, because if you're sick of political correctness in your sports talk, whether it's on ESPN or up in Canada, this is the place to be. This is In the Crease with Tommy C. Let's start this off, bitches! Everybody, it's time for your morning ice. What's going on, everybody? This is In the Crease with Tommy C. A little morning ice for you. Let's go over last night's action in the National Hockey League. Thomas Hartl scored a late in the first period, and Joe Thornton added an empty netter if the Sharks take the Canes 2-0. The Winnipeg nets 3 goals in the third period to force overtime. It was not enough. Not enough. The Wild take the Jets 4-3 in overtime. The Hawks, the Chicago Blackhawks, crushed the Dallas Lone Stars 6-2 at home. PK Subban and Brendan Gallagher had a goal and an assist to help the Canadians with their 6th straight win. They take the Wings on the road 4-1. Cats shock the Ducks 6-1 and hand the Ducks the 5th loss in 6th game. And the Yotes take on the Oil and give them their 3rd straight loss. They take that game 2-1. Stick around. We're talking about Ryan Callahan, bitches. Here it goes. And from the Windy City, none other than Chicago, Dead on Dave! What's happening, baby? You ready to start this off? Ryan Callahan's coming back to New York City. When I was in New York a couple months ago, I went to this great bar called the Blarney Rock, and they put, Broadway play advertisements over Callahan's jersey, which was, embroidered in the wall, which was funny.
You seem like a guy who'd go to a bar called the Blarney Rock.
Do I?
I'm just saying.
You know, I also heard, I have a note here that Callahan actually, his favorite player was Brendan Shanahan growing up, and being a fellow Irish-American, so he was mine as well. Big shocker there. Callahan, I think, I guess from a fan's point of view, is he getting booed or is he not getting booed?
He's getting cheered. Yeah, he wasn't just a player. He was a captain.
Yeah.
All right? And he was a beloved captain. He played his fucking ass off for that team. He didn't leave in a bad way. He got traded. He got traded.
No, that's not true.
He got traded in a way that – has it ever happened before that a captain was traded for a captain even though he lost his captaincy when he went over? But still, has that ever happened?
Straight up?
Yeah, has that ever happened, a captain for a captain?
Yeah, well, I know Morrow went last year. I mean, there was a big captain trade the year before. As far as captain and keeping the captaincy, that's pretty rare. A straight-up captain change and they keep the seat. I don't think that's ever happened. I could be wrong. I mean, that's a pretty good trivia question if you think about it, Dave.
Yeah, I know. I did a little research. I have copious amounts of notes.
Look. The way I see this now, I was in New York recently, and I here's my perspective. Look, I understand it's a business, and I don't care if you're trying to get the most money. Ryan Callahan got caught playing chicken with the New York Rangers, and what happened was, what he could never predicted is St. Louis got really mad at Steve Yzerman for not putting him on the Olympic team initially, and the only fact that he really went was because Steve Stamkos got hurt. Yeah. So that really hurt St. Louis. He's obviously a very, very emotional player. I mean, look, to me, if you don't make Team Canada, you gotta suck it up and not kick the dirt. But that really affected him. And the year prior, he was the highest scoring player in the league. I think he was highest scoring. He finished ahead of Sidney Crosby in the shortened season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
so how is he not on the Olympic roster the next year? And if I'm good enough to captain your team, how come I'm not good enough to even be on Team Canada? And he let that kind of eat him up. Now, What Callahan was doing is, they got to take me. I'm Ryan Callahan, and I'm the heart of this team. I'm an Irishman from New York State, in a very big Irish community in New York. And there's just they're not going to deal me. He's an effective player. But at the end of the day, if you take his stats, because he's a defensive forward, even though he's only like 5'10", 5'9", a guy like St. Louis pops up, that's not going to work because he was asking for a hell of a lot of money. And I have no problem with these guys getting as much money as they want. I'm not like normal fans because I know you can only do this for so many years. You only can do this for so many.
It's not even that he was asking for a lot of money. It was the timing.
Yeah.
The Rangers were coming into a cap strap period.
Yeah.
That's why he's not coming alone. He's bringing friends. And I'll talk about that in a moment too.
Sure. Well, we'll get to. Well, yeah, that's a good point. We'll get to that. The fans, on the other hand, I was in New York. He's getting booed.
You think he's getting booed?
Yes. Or it's going to be mixed.
I think he's going to get straight up cheered. I do.
It's not like Messier. He didn't finish the job. He didn't get in a fight with the organization that the fans sympathize with. He asked for a lot of money. He played chicken, and to his shock, which he expressed right after he was traded, he got dealt. I think Ryan
it's not
Callahan
like he signed for a massive amount of money anyway. I mean, 6 years, $34 million is what he ended up signing for. So I don't think he was being a greedy player for the type of player that he is. I think the fans are going to welcome him back.
No, he's being paid like a sniper. And he's a defensive forward. And I'm not really got a problem with that because, I mean, he's the captain of the team. I was willing to, I don't really care what they make. I don't really care what the Rangers have to do. Things like caps don't just particularly interest me. I understand from a GM's point of view, that's an absolute must. It just doesn't interest me because I see myself, if I was in that position, I'm getting as much money as possible because I can't do this after the age of 37, more than likely. And especially Ryan's been hurt a lot over the years because he is a smaller player. He hits hard for a smaller player. One of the few guys that could be, most guys that play the type of game he has are well over 6 feet. And so he does tend to get hurt a lot because he's a little smaller. He's a great leader. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think the New York fans, it's not like he did what Messier did. It's not like he got the cup, got in a fight with management, and went to Vancouver. This was, you can't get rid of me. And I think the fans in New York sense that he probably should have came down. And I think the Rangers were going to sign him until the St. Louis popped up because St. Louis flat out told Steve Yzerman, I am not signing with you again. I don't care what. I want to get out of this state. I want out of here. I don't want to play for you. And Steve Yzerman funnily goes, I don't think it was about the Olympics. Yeah, right.
It's funny. It's one of those trades that really has worked out for both teams.
Yeah, it totally has. Look, I was crushed when Ryan left, but I understand. Look, it's not. I'm not going to be like that kid that cried when Kessler scored that goal, and it's not me because I get it. I'm older now. When Messier left to Vancouver, I was a younger person. I was in my early 20s, and I hated it. I know how people feel. I know these emotions affect people, but I was a little more sympathetic of Messier because the contract between 1994 and 96, they told him, you bring a cup, we're going to pay you. But he was in his late 30s at that point, and they were like, we can't pay a guy your age. And he was like, fuck you.
Right. Yeah.
I did for this organization what nobody else could do. And I know Brian Leach won the MVP in 94, but guess what? Guess who the real MVP was? Mark Messier, because that don't happen without him. It's nothing to do with the points you score. I hate when they give away the highest scoring forward or defenseman, and they give the friggin' MVP to him. It makes me bonkers. But so it's a little different situation. It was almost like he was playing chicken. And from my feel, when I was in New York City in September, that's how they feel. I think it'll probably be like a John Cena situation where it's like a smattering of boos and cheers. I do. No, I do. Now I'm going to think I'm staying up to watch the game because
I think he has a little bit of something going for him, though. There's another reason why I think he's going to get cheered, and I think because the fans kind of they tend to sympathize when they think a team is being cheap, and maybe they weren't being with him, but the two moves that led to him having teammates join him down in Tampa could help sway some sympathy because he's bringing some buddies. He's bringing Boyle and Strawman with him, who just flat out did not get offers. And they thought they were. And so they went and signed with Tampa. And these three guys are a huge reason as to why Tampa's playing the way they are.
Well, Strawman apparently wasn't getting offered because of cap situation, from what I understand.
Yeah, and last year they were really squeezed.
It really says something about Ryan's leadership and the way the players felt about him. I don't think that was a coincidence that they both ended up in
absolutely
Tampa.
not.
I think it's like I don't want to play for I want to play with Ryan because he's that kind of player. There's no doubt that he's an influential player.
I think it helps his cause.
Yeah, I do. It also concerns me about what's going on in the Ranger locker room and how the players feel about leadership.
Yeah.
That concerns me a little bit. it did work out for everybody. St. Louis, as he's starting to catch fire now. He had a great playoff. Not so much when he first got traded, but I got to be honest with you, St. Louis is a little more emotional than. I mean, I hate to say it, but he gets a little French about this shit sometimes. I never forget when the French World Cup team.
I love that you just use French as a verb. That's
he
fantastic.
gets a little French about the situation, and it's stereotyping, and I'm generalizing. But I never forget when in the 2010 Soccer World Cup that the French had like a mutiny against their coach, and they ended up losing, and getting eliminated in the I think the first stages. And the Onion put out an article, the French national soccer team confirms everything about French stereotypes. That was like the headline. So don't blame me. But I got to be honest with you, I think he got his panties in a bunch a little bit, and I don't know. And then Callahan played chicken and lost. So that's fine. But, Callahan's only 30, and, oh, God. So it's, for me, as a Ranger fan, whatever. That's the business. It's a break. Hockey's a business. Don't think it's anything else. If you think it's something else, you're fooling yourself.
Yep.
And if you think these guys are bad people because it's a business, you're out of your damn mind. So I wish Ryan Callahan the best. Of course, he broke in with the Rangers in 2000. His breakout season was in 2008 when he had that. He famously scored a big goal in the Victoria Cup, which was supposed to be sort of a Superliga for Europe and the NHL, which was really cool. And then the next year he was named captain of the New York Rangers, and he made it. I mean, for the type of forward he is, he made it on Olympic teams in 2010. He got a silver. Like I said, favorite player Brendan Shanahan, and then he ended up getting traded, and that's just life in hockey, and that's life in sports.
Other players like Robinson Cano, when he came back this year with the Mariners to Yankee Stadium, he got booed the fuck out of the building. He wasn't a captain. Captaincy means a little bit more in New York than it does in some other states. And usually they're really good about honoring that. And the fact that everybody's got to be happy with it all the way around, from New York to Tampa. Here's two stats I found interesting. Callahan has 13 points in 13 games this year, and the team is 11-0 when he scores.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding with
Wow.
When he scores, they're 11-0 this year.
I think if I remember correctly, I think
That's
there
impact.
were similar stats for the Rangers when he was in the lineup. Like I said, he gets hurt a lot because he plays a very physical game.
He does.
When he was in the lineup, I mean, they had a much better chance of winning statistically. And I seem to remember a similar stat. And well, that's great. I'm happy for Ryan. I'm sorry he left, but then again, I did get this jersey a lot cheaper than we. That's the truth. I saw like all the Callahan jerseys only like $50. It was like, well, how much is it normally? $120. I'm like, give it to me. But he's not on the team. Give it to me. So yeah. Look. This is the way it goes. I wish the best of Ryan Callahan. I know the Ranger fans are going to boom. It's going to be a smattering, like I said, a John Cena situation if anybody's a wrestling fan. But you know what? That's the breaks. I think Ryan knows what to expect.
Sure.
And
he's not a European.
Yeah.
He's not going to get his fucking feelings hurt when he goes out on the ice if he were to get booed.
He ain't going to say it.
Booed, he's gonna
I think it's going to bother him. I wouldn't be shocked. He probably grew up a Sabres or a Ranger fan, So being from
you
New
don't think
York,
he's preparing himself for the worst?
I don't know. If I were him, I wouldn't know what to expect and I wouldn't know how to feel.
Yeah.
But I would have something to say to the media.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what I would tell the
media.
media, what I would tell the media, and what I would, actually do or actually feel, because I don't think these players have any obligation to tell the media the truth. They just use what they say and try to turn it on them to make a story. So. I don't know. I don't know how he feels. I'll miss him. I still do. I miss him. I talk about him a lot. You know that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do.
He's a good player.
He's a great player. He's a great player. And
he's
from what I also
fun to
understand
watch
about Callahan,
he's scrappy.
He's scrappy as hell. But, he came up as that he's going to be more of a playweight making forward and sniper. But he liked the defensive game so much, so he changed his style sometime in the minors. And that's a pretty dramatic and daring change. Because he does have decent hands, and he does score an occasional amazing goal once in a while. But, I mean, that type of style that Callahan took on probably limited his chances to be a super-duper star. Now, maybe he did that because it was the best move for him, but, he does – if anybody's watched Ryan Callahan, yeah, I mean, 20-goal season is great for him. But he does at times show that why isn't this guy more than a 30-goal scorer? I mean, because he's checking it, he's making sure things are done in his zone, and he's making sure opposing forwards are laying on their ass.
He plays the game the right way.
Yeah.
You know?
He does play the game the right way. I don't really like that saying so much, but he definitely
I hate it either. I kind of feel dirty when I say it.
Yeah, I do feel so, because there's no right way to play the game. But as far as when I say that, it's the type of game that I like. So, I mean, he doesn't play like Tarasenko.
What I mean by it is he does the things that you're supposed to do as a leader of a team.
Sure.
You do the things that you're supposed to do as when your stats indicate that you're an impact player, which his stats have indicated that.
Yeah, that's true.
He does the things that warrant that definition. That's the way I look at it.
I couldn't agree with you more. In other news, of course, Gordie Howe's family has said that his health has taken a turn for the worse. Apparently, he's had another stroke. Dave writes there, 801 memories, 118 and 50. 1,850 reasons. He is Mr. Hockey. Absolutely great sign there down on Dave. The thing that blows for me, and I said this before, and you know what? There's always a chance he could bounce out of this. Anybody could do what Gordie Howe could. I don't want to live in a world without Gordie Howe. I know that sounds kind of suicidal.
No, I get it.
Yeah, I don't.
I get it.
I don't want to. This is a guy who I really never got to see play live anyway. I've watched some stuff on the Vault, and I've read enough about the man to really just fall in love with the type of hockey player he was when the game was.
Type of man he was.
Yeah, he's just a manly man. I mean, he's just he was the manliest man in North America for the longest time, and he was real cool. He had that like Ted Williams coolness about him.
That's a good comparison.
Yeah. He wasn't as nasty as Williams, but there was a Ted Williams kind of badassery to him.
Yeah.
Not that Ted Williams is nasty, but he would tell you to stick it up your ass if you give him a hard time. Gordie would more do it with a smile and make you look stupid.
When I was not a hockey fan, which was for a good period of my life, I always knew 3 hockey players' names: Bobby Hull, Wayne Gretzky, and Gordie fucking Howe.
Yeah, Gordie Howe. And there's a reason for that. And I don't want to see Gordie suffer. Absolutely. But it's just I don't want to see his family suffer either. I mean, we could go on, and we did a show, an entire Shot from the Point live episode on Gordie, and all we can say, there's nothing to say, but get better and fight as long as you can, and hopefully there's no suffering for friends and family, and of course Gordie Howe himself, and then we'll just leave it at that.
Let's get a campaign going to change the name of that fucking arena.
Well, the new one,
Gordie Howe Arena.
The new one that they're building, which they probably shouldn't build because the taxpayers in Detroit don't need that.
Right, because it's hard times in a D.
Yeah, hard times. It's just ridiculous. I mean, from what I understand, the Red Wings didn't even ask for a new stadium.
Yeah.
Or they just gave it to them. I mean, with all the financial problems, it's really repulsive. Have I got some interesting stuff for you? Of course, Dominic Hasek was put in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Former Chicago Blackhawk.
Couple of time Blackhawk.
This former Chicago Blackhawk that was famously traded for one of the other greatest goalies of all time, Grant Fuhr. Grant Fuhr, of course, of Edmonton Oilers fame. He was Wayne Gretzky's favorite goalie.
Turned out to be black. Blew my fucking mind.
Yeah, I know. You're like a new hockey fan. Grant Fuhr, one of the great goalies, had a stretch where he was almost unbeatable. And this is Grant Fuhr on Dominic Hasek and the fact that he's traded for him. I'd seen Dom in Canada Cups because he always played for the Czech team. So I knew he was talented. I was surprised when Chicago let him go to Buffalo. I know they had Eddie, as in Belfour, but Dom was a great goalie. Dom was very analytical and smart, a gentleman, different style. When I got traded to Buffalo, I was surprised. Because they already had Dom there. Well, I'm sorry, not because we got traded to Buffalo for Chicago, when he left to Chicago and went to Buffalo. More than anything, it was a shock when I went to Buffalo because I figured it was because GM John Muckler was there, and we had history with Muck and Edmonton. But there was Dom there, and you knew he was good. You knew he was the dominator. Whatever. That wasn't part of the quote. I grabbed it out because I misspelled something here. But it's interesting. A player of Grand Fear's stature, seeing what nobody knew at the time. Don't act like everybody in Chicago was screaming bloody murder when Dominic Hasek left to the Buffalo Sabres and carried that team to a Stanley Cup final in 1999. But it's interesting. The players know more than the reporters.
For sure.
And that's really what it is. I mean, they know what talent is because they don't need to look at a score sheet to see it. Interesting enough, Mike Keenan pulled Ed Belfour. I think it was in the final game 4 Stanley Cup final versus Pittsburgh. And of course, I mean, the Pittsburgh Penguins they were going to win. I know it was the only time Jeremy Roenick ever got a sniff at a cup after that. And they were going to win. It was just like, it was Yager at his peak. It was Lemieux at his peak. I think that year they won. The starting lineup for the All-Stars East was this: Mario Lemieux, Jaromir Jagr, Kevin Stevens, Larry Murphy, and Paul Coffey. Was Paul Coffey on the team? Yeah, I think Paul Coffey. So that was like they literally had it was a rolling All-Star team. Strangely enough, that year they backed into the playoffs, ended up beating the Rangers, who were predicted to win the Stanley Cup, and actually ended up taking on Chicago and dismantling them in 4 straight. But yeah, more proof that the players know more. And if you ever wanted a really entertaining, well, they can't do. My father always said it was better in baseball when the fans didn't pick the All-Star team, because the fans are basically influenced by the reporters because that's all they know. It's wild that a guy like Grant Fuhr, one of the greatest goalies of all time, can just kind of look at this guy as like this. He's going to be great. And remember, Dahmer came later. Dahmer came in his late 20s or mid 20s, and there was a lot known about Eastern Bloc players. It's not like it is today where we got NHL scouts, walking past East Germany. How do you feel about that as a Blackhawks fan, that they kind of pissed him away?
Well, it happens. Chicago doesn't have the best reputation of holding on to talent, with the exceptions of like Walter Payton and Michael Jordan. Other than that, I mean, we're the franchise that let fucking Greg Maddux go after he won his first Cy Young.
Right.
I mean, we do things like that. We're Chicago. We do stupid shit. But I mean, look, they believed in what they had and thought he was an expendable player, so they traded him. I mean, did it turn? I mean, the history books show it was the wrong move, but
you could make an argument that Dahmer's one of the best of all time, maybe better than Brodeur.
Top 5, top 3, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I saw an interview with Dahmer over the weekend, and he said that because he grew up in the Eastern Bloc, I mean, he doesn't know guys like Jacques Plante and Ken Dryden and some of the guys in the 70s, 60s, 50s, and so on. So he really can't say whether he's the best goalie. He goes, I know I was good. He's like, no, I was good. But as far as all time's concerned, I honestly couldn't give you a comparison because I didn't get to see these guys play. I don't know anything. So I really, like the NHL world started for me probably with the Canada Cups that he played in when he was behind the Eastern Bloc. And right there in 1989, 1990 when Chicago got him. So, but it is he was such a unique goalie. He did so many kind of weird things. Maybe that's what happened in Chicago. He was so weird that like this can't work in the NHL. This guy's nuts.
Yeah,
and he was a little kooky. And he was just too kooky to be a goalie.
It's quite possible that could have been the mindset. I have no idea. But the guy, just the raw talent, it may not be there may not have ever been better.
Influential too.
Yeah,
dropping the stick, different moves. It's so great that he ended up getting a Stanley Cup in Detroit. He didn't retire that long ago. No,
he really. It feels like it.
Yeah, he didn't really. He thought about coming back 2 years ago, but it was over.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
So Dominic Hasek, a really great. I love the pool this year of
it's a great Hall of Fame
it
class,
really is. Big ass Rob Blake, Peter Forsberg. Obviously,
Matt Sundin.
Matt Sundin went last. Wait a minute.
No, he's in this year.
Wait a minute. Where's my notes? No, Sundin went a few years ago.
I'm looking through them.
You're thinking of Forsberg. You're thinking of Forsberg. No, it was Mike Modano. It's Rob Blake, Peter Forsberg, Dominic Hasek, Mike Modano, and Pat Burns postmortemly.
I guess Matt Sundin was last year. My bad.
I think it was a few years ago, or is he even in yet? That's interesting. Yeah, Sundin's
No,
already.
no,
No, Sundin was. No, you watched. Let me guess. You watched the Hall of Fame game, and you saw Sundin there.
I'm looking through pictures.
Yeah, Sundin. I think Sundin already. Either you
I'm
already
looking
went.
through pictures. It says class of 2014, and Matt Sundin's pictures there. So That's where I got my information. Yes.
Yeah, well, I thought he was already in. I'll be perfectly honest with you. Rob Blake, Mike Modano, talked about that late. Pat Burns won a cup of New Jersey. And Bill McCreary, Dominic Hasek, great class. No, there's no controversies. On the way out the door, do you have an opinion on Lindros getting snubbed again? We talked about that a little last night.
Well, we've talked about Lindros. You talk about him ad nauseum.
Yeah.
What you think of Lindros? I think it kind of just goes to show that people tend to have the same opinion of Lindros as you do.
You don't like him.
And it is what it is. Do I think he should be in? Yes, but I don't have the hockey knowledge that.
Here's what Jersey Jason Lech said. If you're going to let Cam Neely in, you got to let Lindros in.
That's a good point.
It is a good point, but here's the thing. He's saying that because Cam Neely wasn't a good hockey player. No, I thought he was one of the more dominant hockey players, and he unfortunately got his career cut short. Lindros did get his career cut shorter too, but he was a coaching problem, and he was sort of had this. He was like the first player that really acted negatively to being put on a pedestal. Wayne Gretzky was a different story. I mean, he was always humble. I don't know if guys like Lindros and Gretzky is, and it's going to be interesting to see if Connor McDavid, because he's being put on the same pedestal that Lindros is. I don't think
how you react to that light can define you for your entire career. And yeah. Lindros is finding that out, even after your career. Lindros is finding that out right now.
He was a dominant player. I never thought he was the best player in the league at any time. I thought the year he won the Hart Trophy, I thought Jaromir Jagr deserved it, who had better stats. I never thought he was much of a leader. There's rumors about him. The reason Rob Brindamore went to the Canes, ended up winning a cup with the Canes too, is because supposedly Lindros, the captain of the team, was sleeping with his wife. Not cool. And they supposedly brought in Rick Tocchet and beat him up at practice, concussion problems, fights with general managers, with Bobby Clark. And then when he got to the Rangers, he did play hard. He seemed to have grown up. He's in his 30s. But he could only be an offensive player at that point with a big body like that. It's frustrating enough for me to watch Rick Nash not throw his body around, because it was really frustrating not to watch Lindros. But I do give him credit. He did kind of change his ways when he got to the Rangers, but there was nothing left. I mean, it was
too little, too late. Sometimes
they needed to put somebody to replace Wayne Gretzky after that. So Lindros got the call, bounced around the league after that. He really didn't have the first part of his career was great. I got to be honest with you. I believe that the reason he was so popular was a lot of Barry Melrose hype.
Yeah,
I remember, when Lindros was not putting up the net. Well, this is going to be a breakout year for Lindros. No, it's not. It's over. He came up in the early 90s. It's now 1999. He's not that good.
Well, sometimes, they do this with players in other sports that if you're a problem behind the scenes, even if you have Hall of Fame numbers, which I think, you can make. We got to check.
You know what? I think Jason's right in the sense, if there's like 20 guys in there that don't have as good as numbers with him, which with the exception of Bobby Orr, who had only played a decade, maybe you got to put him in because he was a dominant player. I'm not saying, but I don't think he was even the best player of his era. I don't even.
But sometimes you do this. Sometimes
he was promoted.
You make a player wait.
He was promoted as the best player of his era. There was better players in his era, Jaromir Jagr being one of them at his peak.
Sometimes the leagues do this. They make a player wait to kind of tell him, hey, this is because you were a fucking asshole. And he might be suffering through that right now. It happens in other sports.
Tomorrow in the crease, I'm going to I'll prepare Dave Rose for this. Tomorrow in the crease, I'm going to look up his numbers. We're going to make some comparisons. And I'm going to ask Dave Rose the same question and at the end of the show. And that's what we're going to do. We'll cover Lindros because I think that's an interesting topic because
it's a good topic.
He was very he was a lot like Crosby. He's very polarizing. Very polarizing superstar. All right, tonight in the National Hockey League, only one game. The return of Ryan Callahan to Madison Square Garden, New York. It is going to be interesting to see if he gets booed or not. I hope not. But, fans pay their money, and they're allowed to express their feelings as they see fit. I don't think it's right if he gets booed. I know it's going to be a very emotional game for Ryan Callahan, and I didn't even talk to this with Dead on Dave. I think that they'll probably play him. I don't know. This is another interesting question that we didn't bring up. Will they actually give him what they did for Sean Thornton? Give him a little montage.
Oh, a video package?
I cannot afford to stay up for this game tonight. Of course, I live in Europe if you're listening for the first time.
It could be interesting.
I cannot.
I wanted to express my condolences to you, my friend.
What's that?
because of your 0-5 fantasy hockey team. I'm so sorry.
I explained why I have gotten
for you.
ridiculously unlucky. You know that. I'm not even making bad points this week.
No.
It's fucking, he's got the whole St. Louis Blues team, and they had an unbelievable week. I can't beat that. It's ridiculous.
Yay. The best part is, Dave, you got to be careful when you're coming in. You're probably going to get your ass kicked for
You got second round draft pick overall. You got the second round draft pick all over. If you want to laugh, go to Yahoo Fantasy. Check out the Marlowe League. It's probably a riot. I fucking dominated last year.
Yep.
Yes, Jeff Huff. Well, he wasn't around last year. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to In the Crease with Tommy C. Hope you stick around. Hope you enjoyed the kind of hockey we do. See you later.